Hello, Chef Marcus Guiliano here, and I'm in Las Vegas. Las Vegas for a full week. I was here for 2 conferences, and I just want to do a little quick takeaway. Saw a lot of speakers, saw a ton of speakers the last week, and I'm in my mastermind group right now. It's my restaurant mastermind group, and yesterday we listened to Ed Rush, New York Times bestseller. How many books has he had? 5 times #1 New York bestseller, an author. He's an ex-Marine pilot, fighter pilot. He has a new book out called The 21-Day Miracle, and he relates, really good book, easy read. We listened to him speak yesterday. I got to spend some time with him afterwards yesterday and asked him some great questions. Great guy. He hooked me up on a couple of things. So, what is a takeaway from this book? That, most books, and I think he even said this, but I've heard Ty Lopez say this before. Most books, there's a couple great points in here that are on a couple pages. The publisher wants you to fill everything else up with a lot of other things. And, so if you read certain parts of a book in 10, 15 minutes, you can get the whole overall message out in a book. It's just that the publisher wants you to fill all those pages in between, because you can't sell a book that's 3 pages, right? Nobody would buy a book that's 3 pages. So Ty Lopez has his mentor box program, which is his book club of the month, basically, largest book club of the month in the world, I believe. They condense things down for you, do the takeaways, and he shows you on some of his videos how to pick up a book, read it, put it down, come back in 20 minutes, half an hour, you can get the whole gist of this book. So what are the takeaways of this book by Ed Rush? So the big thing that he said, have goals so big that people laugh at you. If people aren't laughing at your goals, they're not big enough. And he explained, okay, if you want to be a trillionaire and you kind of figure out how you're going to start building your fortune being a trillionaire, then being a millionaire is not so hard, because that's a smaller problem. Being a billionaire is much easier than being a trillionaire. So start big, 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 big. He said one of his goals was he wants to live to be 145 years old, and he wants to be a trillionaire. So, of course, the average person will kind of laugh at that, but he says, when I go to my doctor, or I go to a scientist who's into longevity studies, he goes, he's not laughing at me, because he knows that 145 could be a great possibility in the upcoming future with science. He goes, so depends on who you're telling your goals to as well. Just don't tell your goals to everybody. He goes, but you definitely want to get some kind of chuckle or some kind of laugh when you just basically go over your goals. The next thing that he talked about, he went back a lot to his fighter pilot days, and the smallest change or the smallest variances can make the biggest difference. And when you're landing a fighter jet, on a carrier, on an ocean carrier, you have to be exactly perfect. There's not much room for error on there. And he was explaining that when you go up during the daytime, there's always an instructor with you in the back. But when you go up at nighttime, and the U.S. is the only ones who actually launch these planes on these ships at night, launch and land at night. No other country does that. The U.S. doesn't. So during the day, you're a fighter pilot. Your instructor's in the back seat with you. At nighttime, it's just you. It's only you. And he goes, it's obviously much harder to do it at nighttime. But he doesn't really know what the thought process is, because there's just one of you. There's not your backup there. Not somebody as a backup. So he said, so goals so big. Have fantastic communication. Communication. Have a plan. Have a blueprint. Have a plan. Set it up. Have somebody look over your plan. Don't you be the only one that looks at your plan. Have somebody else that looks over your plan. And through communication, great targets. And of course, he thinks that you can rock and roll in 21 days. He thinks time is of essence, thus the 21-day miracle, how much you can get accomplished in there. So, good book, short read. It's basically 150 pages, 160 pages, and really laid out beautifully. I've not read the book, but listening to his speech got a fantastic bunch of great takeaways. I'm going to talk about some of the other authors some of the other people speakers that I listened to this week, because I was at Grant Cardone's 10X Business Summit, had to 10X your business growth con. Second annual event, 9,000 people came to this, but you had people like Ty Lopez there, Damon John, Tim Story. There were some really, really awesome speakers there, and I think I'll go down because I took a ton of notes at that event. I took a ton of notes, and I can't wait to watch the videos that I purchased, the live stream and the videos that they come out with. So that's the takeaways from Ed Rush. Great book. I would definitely recommend the book. He says one of his big points was, you see a lot of people with fantastic bookshelves. You see a lot of people that have really, really awesome books, but they either don't read them or they don't comprehend them. So getting some really good points, takeaways, and doing some of those. When I read books, I always go through and I mark it, I highlight it, and I don't listen to that many books anymore. I don't read that many more books anymore because I listen to books on audio tape. But before, or digital, obviously digital on Audible. But before I had Audible and I was listening to books, I listened to 1 or 2 books a month, maybe 3 books a month sometimes, and it's great for me. And if I like the book a lot, then I'll go back and reread it. If I re-listen to it, if I like the book a ton, then I'll actually buy the hard copy. When somebody gives me a hard copy, because this was given to me, then I actually always buy the audio tape as well. But I would go through all my books. You can see books from 10, 15 years ago and through my bookshelves. You pick them up, you open them up, and you'll see pages folded. You'll see a lot of highlights in them. You'll see notes. For me, that's very beneficial because I can go back to the book now and understand the high points of what I wanted because everything's, pages are turned over. I know a lot of people who are afraid to write in their books. Don't be afraid to write in your books. It's your book. Do what you want with it. I do take a lot of notes when I go to these conferences. I always have journals, and I always come back with the journals and, of course, the key points and takeaways. But yeah, 21 Day Miracle by Ed Rush. Definitely recommend it. Have you read any good books lately? Business books, positive thinking books, positive mind books. Have you read any good books? Leave those comments below. I'm always interested to see what other people are reading or listening to, and I'm happy to check those out. Chef Marcus Guiliano, thanks for watching. If you like my videos, please hit like, subscribe, and you know the deal. Definitely pass it on.